All right, let's talk about one of the wildest, most incredible stories from World War II that you've probably never heard. I'm talking about the Ghost Army, absolute masters of deception. After the war, a lot of veterans found it hard to talk about what they went through. But for the members of this secret U.S. Army unit, well, it was a totally different story. For them, silence wasn't just a choice, it was a direct order. Their entire mission was stamped top secret. So, what on earth were they hiding? I mean, what could this group of soldiers have possibly done that required them to stay silent for decades? That's the huge question, and that's exactly what we're going to unravel right now. Okay, so to get to the bottom of this secret, we need to take a look at who these guys actually were. Their official name was the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, and the first thing you have to understand is just how small this unit was. We're talking about just 1,100 men. That's it. In the grand scheme of the war in Europe, that's like a drop in the ocean. But as you'll see, their impact was gigantic. And this is where things get really wild. Their whole mission basically flipped the script on traditional warfare, right? Most armies, they fight with guns and tanks to hurt the enemy. But the Ghost Army, they fought with illusions. Their entire job wasn't to deal damage, it was to draw damage, to get the enemy to shoot at them, to confuse them, and to pull German troops away from where the real fight was happening. It's like they turned the entire battlefield into a stage. And if you're gonna put on a show like that, well, you can't just recruit any old soldier. What they were doing was pioneering something called tactical deception. And yeah, that's just a fancy military term for the art of misleading the enemy. But what made the Ghost Army so special, so unique, was how they did it. Their weapons weren't guns and bombs. They were this incredible arsenal of artistic and sound-based tricks. It was pure theater. So think about it. Who do you hire for a job like this? It's definitely not your standard issue soldier. The Army went out and handpicked artists, engineers, designers, even architects. They needed people who just got it, people who understood illusion and perspective and how to trick an audience. A lot of these guys came straight from top art schools like the Pratt Institute. And get this, the unit included guys who would go on to become super famous, like fashion designer Bill Blass and the artist Ellsworth Kelly. This wasn't an army of soldiers, it was an army of creatives.
So what kinds of tricks did they have up their sleeves? Let's get into their arsenal of illusion.
Okay, so the Ghost Army was really made up of 4 different parts, all working together like a perfectly orchestrated, deception. You had one team for the visual stuff, another for faking radio signals, a third for sound effects, and a fourth group that provided security and really sold the whole act. They were basically a traveling multimedia roadshow of trickery. First up, the visual deception. This was handled by the 603rd Camouflage Battalion, and their job, and I'm not kidding, was to create an entire fake army out of thin air. Their most important weapon, not a rifle, not a cannon, but a gas-powered air compressor. And this is what they used it for. Check this out. A full-size inflatable Sherman tank. To a German spy plane flying thousands of feet overhead, these things looked absolutely real. Can you imagine? They can make it look like a massive armored division was gathering for an attack, when really, it was just a bunch of rubber and hot air. But of course, a huge army that's completely silent, that's a major red flag. The Germans were always listening in on radio chatter. So the next piece of the puzzle was the signal company's special. These guys created spoof radio, completely fake radio traffic, and their telegraph operators were so good, they could actually imitate the specific sending style of a real operator from a different unit. It's kind of like being able to forge someone's handwriting, but with Morse code. That little detail made the whole thing so much more convincing. Next, you need the sounds of an army. That's where the 3132nd Signal Service Company came in. They had these huge 500-pound speakers, and they would just blast pre-recorded sound effects into the night. We're talking the sound of tanks moving, soldiers marching, guys building bridges, all of it. And these sounds were so loud, they could be heard up to 15 miles away. It created this totally convincing audio illusion, especially at night, that a massive force was on the move. And the last piece of the puzzle? Pure acting. This was the stuff that made the whole illusion believable up close. The soldiers would wear fake patches from other divisions, they'd drive jeeps into local towns, hang out in bars, and just casually spread rumors and misinformation, knowing full well that German spies were probably listening in. They had a name for it: creating atmosphere. So you put all these pieces together, the inflatable tanks, the fake radio, the sound effects, the actors. What does that actually look like in a real battle? Let's talk about how this all played out. And here's the number that just blows my mind.
those 1,100 guys in the Ghost Army, they could convincingly pretend to be 2 entire divisions. That's an illusion of 30,000 soldiers. Think about that. They multiplied their force by almost 30 times, using nothing but creativity.
They pulled off over 20 major operations, but their absolute masterpiece was a mission called Operation Viersen. It's March 1945. They set up more than 600 inflatable tanks and guns near the Rhine River. Then, they turned on the sound system and the fake radio chatter, making it seem like 2 divisions were about to make a huge push across the river. And the Germans? They completely fell for it. They moved their troops to stop this phantom army, which left the real crossing point wide open. Because of that, the U.S. Ninth Army crossed the Rhine with almost no opposition. They likely saved thousands and thousands of lives. So the war ends, and you'd think these guys would be celebrated as heroes, right? Nope. Their incredible success was immediately classified, buried in secrecy. But some stories are just too important to stay hidden forever. I mean, just look at this timeline. It's staggering. For 50 years, more than 50 years, their entire mission was top secret. These men went to their graves without being able to tell their own families what they actually did in the war. It's unbelievable. The files were finally declassified in 1996, and the story started to come out, finally leading to them being awarded the Congressional Gold Medal just this year, in 2024. Talk about long overdue recognition. And boy, was that honor deserved. When you look at the numbers, military experts estimate that over the course of their 20-plus missions, the Ghost Army saved somewhere between 15,000 and 30,000 Allied lives. That is just a staggering, breathtaking number. A U.S. Army report written after the war really summed it up perfectly. And this quote says it all. These guys, they didn't fight with bullets and bombs. They fought with their minds, with pure creativity and incredible courage. They were artists, and the battlefields of Europe were their stage. And what they proved in the end is that sometimes the most powerful weapon you can have isn't a bomb at all. It's an idea.